The majority of what we're looking at is going to be the alignment issues for today. We're working on this as a very fast process for various reasons. One, we're excited. Two, there's other petition initiatives addressing other corridor initiatives on light rail that's been sent to the city. And we started this process over a year ago, submitting our application to the federal government for an alternative analysis funding. But the good thing about what we're doing, and it's kind of fun to be working on projects that don't drag out. And so what we're working towards right now is we're working on our Tier 1 screening process. And I apologize for being late, but our executive committee was also meeting today, and we were presenting our Tier 1 screening results to them. And we're planning from there, we plan on having a public meeting next Tuesday. It's part of an all-day event. It's not part of our process, but it is a potential to show what a modern streetcar can look like. So, real quick, our 7 alternatives we looked at, just to bring you up to speed. We looked at bi-directional routes, where basically the streetcar would run up and back on the same route. We're kind of envisioning a curb running. It runs, the streetcars run with traffic if it's a streetcar. If it's an advanced bus, they take in the same lane and run along this curb line as well. So they're very similar, which is why we left it mode neutral. So the bi-directional routes we looked at were on Grand, Main, Walnut, and Baltimore. Keep clicking. So those are the corridors we looked for bi-directional. The other one was referred to as a couplet approach, and that was it goes up one street, goes a block over, and comes back down. The advantage of looking at a couplet is with development and economic return is a major part of our process, we were able to put in improvements on 2 streets. And so we could spread it out a little bit. So, looking again at our 4 major strategic principles that we were evaluating was connecting the community, support development, and allow the community to thrive, and to sustain. So, under those categories, we had multiple objectives that we have evaluated to things for to move on with our Tier 1 screening. But our limits of our project, I probably should have told you that, is already, we're looking at going from Crown Center to Union Station. The goal of the project, I said, is to help us to move people back and forth, both the employees who come down here. We're kind of anticipating that the services area is the people who might come down here for work, for other activities, and have a way to get through the community, through the area, and that we could be looking at areas that we can serve the already investments that the city has made, opportunities to redevelop underutilized property, and then to fully develop properties such as parking lots was a major objective to us as we looked at said surface parking lots are not the best use of our land downtown. So there's a lot of credit we gave to if there's a vacant parcel or if it's being used as a surface parking lot. We want to make sure anything we implement is simple and easy to use, especially for people who may not be as familiar with downtown as our residents, and some of our employees don't even know their area beyond a quarter mile of where they work either. So we want to keep it simple and impacts. So this is our overall findings of our corridors with regards to the scores that we've seen individually. And our evaluation really gets down to what we sort of had a lot of people assuming going into it, but we now have the ability to confirm, having looked at it, that we need to evaluate further to do the Grand and the Main corridors. So, just as we overall looked at it, those are the 2 that we are recommending to move forward for further design considerations and as far as our evaluation processes go. It's kind of hard to see, but we made the determination that both the Grand and the Main corridor, we intend to get to the 3rd main transit center that exists today as a service point. If you're on Grand, it's pretty much a straight shot. If you're on Main, our proposal right now is to take it at 5th Street, turn it to the east, get it onto Grand, and into the same point. The northern limits in that area, we feel that we are meeting the criteria of servicing the city market area, as well as the businesses and residents located in that area. We have been floating a little bit of an idea about the concept of running it up Walnut right into the heart of the city market, but based on feedback and activities, it was just an activity that we didn't feel we were going to get that much better service off of without creating some operational issues and concerns about, especially the city market development area and managers. On the southern end, we're conceptually showing it just ending on Pershing, whether you're coming down Main and you're going to go east towards Grand and Pershing, or if you're coming down Grand, you're going to end at Pershing and Main. So those things at the southern end, relative to me, I don't see a whole lot of difference because we're going to serve the same points. We've thought about future expandability of this corridor, this possibility, especially with streetcars, on how it would proceed south. And we feel that both these accomplishments can be met with what we're recommending. And so, we've got stop locations proposed on this, just because as we move it into Tier 2, some of the activities we're going to need to have some ideas on what it's costing and how many stations we're going to have in each corridor. Moving forward, our next steps, we're going to further our results into what's the one alignment we want to move forward to and start design on. What's the mode recommendation? Again, our mode recommendation is a streetcar or enhanced bus service along the two corridors. We're going to utilize our Tier 1 objectives and start looking delving into even more depth and detail of our information. We're going to do construction cost estimates to implement it, as well as operational cost estimates. We're going to do an environmental scan because we are trying to be eligible for federal transportation funds through FTA. But so there are certain NEPA requirements we'll have to do, but all these things we're going to be looking at what's the major differences. If they're the same or seem to have the same service between Main and Grand, that's not going to be a differentiator. Ridership forecasting, economic development, and operational impacts of the existing street networks with regards to cars, pedestrians, and bicycle activities are going to be the things we look at on our Tier 2. And then the next thing, also the next steps we're working on is our funding processes. We're identifying a taxing district. We're not looking for a citywide vote. So we're going to identify our taxing district, estimate the district revenues in that area, and then seek to get an approval for a taxing base. And then we'll also want to make sure we're in the possibility of federal funds, for secure federal funds if they become available. And then our schedule is, again, a very aggressive schedule, which is kind of why when you guys asked me to meet next month and not over double up, I think we'd be so far down the road, you might miss some of the opportunities. So in September, we plan on having our preferred mode in alignment recommendation completed. And we anticipate early 2012 that we'll start working on preliminary design of our corridor. And the ultimate goal, especially as streetcars, is the mode choice that's selected. That the goal is by May 1, 2015, it will be on the ground and running. So.